Welcome to the Creative Tribe podcast. This is a podcast about all of the things that fuel a creative lifestyle. I'm Rita.
And I'm Brian.
And together we are Label Me Other. Our goal is to create creative problem solvers. And if that sounds like something of interest to you, then consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can look us up by the Creative Tribe, or you can find tons of amazing tips on our TikTok page at Label Me Other. Or if you have any questions in the realm of content creation, then feel free to drop us a line at labelmeother@gmail.com. We typically like to start our podcast off with a vent session. This is where we can get anything off of our chest that has us in a negative mood, because we believe the keys to a healthy creative lifestyle is having the space to shake off any negative energy that you may have stored within. So this week's vent for me, I am just feeling very lost. And I was briefly talking to Brian about this yesterday. And, it's just a lot of things coming together, work-wise, feeling just overwhelmed, feeling frustrated and tired, feeling like I'm going in circles and wanting to get off the merry-go-round. It's just a lot of these feelings that just have me in a funk. Like, I'm most definitely in a funk currently.
Yeah.
And I know, for me, it's times where I need to just embrace the funk in a sense, in the sense of getting quiet, getting my thoughts together, figuring out a path and direction instead of feeling like I'm just swimming in a circle. And I know that I can't do that for too long, but I'm very much in that moment of okay, I don't want to do anything. I need a reset. I need to realign myself to what I'm trying to do and how I'm going to do it. And so it just has me feeling really lost right now. Just really where do I go from here kind of thing.
Yeah. I totally get that. I mean, it's all about hills and valleys. And, it's like right now you're in a valley and you have to just accept it. You know that it comes along with it, and know that, it won't be like this all the time.
Yeah.
Like within a week or so, you'll be back to running on all cylinders and everything will be great. But, just have to, like you said, embrace these moments and maybe dive into creatively what makes you happy.
Yeah.
That's a real good time to kind of recalibrate by jumping into those creative things or whatever. I mean, that you really enjoy.
And I think that's where my thoughts are really going to, what makes me happy, what actually is going to make me feel like I'm moving in the right direction, And you brought up a great point, the hills and the valleys. A lot of times we as people just try to avoid valleys altogether. And it's unrealistic to think that you won't ever have a valley. And so, I'm not necessarily trying to run from the valley. I'm not trying to stay in it forever, but I'm just I just know it's time for me to get quiet and really recenter myself into the purpose, I guess.
Yeah. Take some time off. Take a vacation.
I mean, I got one planned. It's 5 weeks away, but it's dang. I was telling my wife yesterday, man, 5 weeks just seems so far right now. I need a break today. I need to break away from this thing yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. So that's kind of my vent for where I'm at mentally right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I really didn't have one. But I mean, now that I think about it, it's just having to fight battles that I really shouldn't have to fight. And so I'm finding myself in in both work and just regular day-to-day life. It's just, just fighting battles. I shouldn't have to fight these battles. Or I guess to the core of it, is it my responsibility to fight those battles? Or am I taking on these battles when I really shouldn't be?
Yeah.
So, but it's just, I go through these things from time to time because I think that's just one of those things with just my nature of just trying to be a problem solver. It's just, knowing when to just not try to solve the problem, when to just let it be.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's something to be said when like you're getting hit on both fronts. Like usually, well, if you're lucky, it's one or the other, right? Work is crazy,
Mhm,
but family life is cool, or family life is a mess, but work is steady, constant. But when you're
mhm.
hit like both sides, work is crazy, family is crazy, it's just like it feels like you don't have any reprieve anywhere you go. And it
Yeah,
just makes the
yeah,
problems like blow up that much more. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a
But,
challenge.
it's just like like I said, hills and valleys. Hills
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so, in on that note, I guess, I wanted to step away from thinking creatively, and I wanted to go back to something that, I really enjoy and Brian really enjoys, and that's the movies, right? And
Mhm,
so, when COVID hit, we kind of hit a rut where we were, movies were shut down, entertainment was changed forever, and we weren't quite sure where things were going to go or how it was going to work, in our favor or the studio's favor. And so now that we are 2.5 years post that, I wanted to kind of revisit like what does the video on demand space look like now? How are we feeling about it? And sort of how does it change things going forward? And so I wanted to kind of bring up the old way of, how videos were produced and done. And, studio would shell out money to greenlight a film that would be, produced. And then it would spend 75 to 90 days in theaters, right? Before it would
mhm,
become available for digital release. And then when COVID hit, of course, we went to a very limited window where it's now just 17 days before a film is possibly set up to be released on video on demand,
mhm,
unless it hits like this golden number or comes close to it, which is $50 million in its opening weekend. And in that case, they may push it back to a 31-day release in theaters. But a lot of studios are kind of dictating that that time period, based on how a movie is performing. So my question, is like, does the shorter window make you want to not go to the movies? And there was a study done that said the study was done by, let's see, the Symbolic Future of Theatrical and Streaming from UTA IQ. And based on a survey of 2,000 people from 15 to 69 years old, so take it with a grain of salt, not that many people. They found that 2/3 of Americans say the length of the exclusive theater window has no impact on their decision to see a movie in theaters.
mhm.
So, Brian, for you, 2.5 weeks. Does that push you to go to the theater?
Um, Not really. Well, okay. So, in for certain situations, it's like if the movie, it all depends on the movies. Like, if the movie is really good and I'm excited about it,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm definitely going to go to the theaters to see it. If I'm kind of on the fence, the shorter window does kind of make me want to be like, okay, maybe I can wait. Depending on like who makes the movie, because like if it's Paramount, it's really hard for me. Like, I'm not going to buy Paramount Plus, so I
Mm,
mean, it may be a little bit tougher for me to try to find a place to watch a Paramount movie
yeah.
on VOD. But like the other situation is like movies like these smaller indie movies. Like recently, it was a black film called The Blackening. It's a black horror movie,
Yeah, yeah.
and I want to say, at least here where we are, it was only in the theater for like a week. So like
Yeah,
that
I
window
think you're
was
right.
super like short. I mean, and
Yeah.
even and it wasn't even playing at like the smaller art house theater that we have here. It
Wow.
wasn't playing at all. So it was playing at a Regal. I want to say it was there for a week, and I just didn't have time. I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
but during that week, I just didn't have time. And so,
Yeah.
like, I really want to go to the theaters to support smaller movies like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when that shorter window like really like sucks.
Yeah. I agree. I think I have found myself in some cases being like, you know what? I'll just wait it out. Or time is just not on my side right now. I got a lot of things going on. I don't have time to really get to the theater,
Mm,
which I genuinely really try my best to make my time. But I have found myself missing movies and in partially because the window was so short. Like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I totally missed in theaters because life was lifing in those 2 weeks, and I just didn't have time to get there to see it.
Yeah.
Although I think it did stay in theaters a little bit longer.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's gone now, so I'll have to wait for video on demand. But I do think it kind of pushes me in some cases to be like, oh, I'll just wait. And I'm always surprised when it's like 3 weeks after it's been announced or it's released, and I'm like, dang, it's already on, Netflix or wherever they're, hosting it.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's always kind of shocking for me. Which kind of brings up a point of like studios not really needing theaters anymore, which we know the theater industry is kind of like dying out, but you know, it's it's created a lane where they don't necessarily need the theaters. They can make money on these films other ways. And so I've got a thing here. So the question is like, does streaming video hurt the art and the actors? So once upon a time, it was all up to the DVD sales, and now it's far
Mhm.
more about television rights, video on demand, and streaming. So streaming video is a new source of revenue for these big, Hollywood studios, and video demand revenue tends to dry up after a few years, but movie studios can still make money from older films by licensing them to Netflix and Amazon Prime. However, the success of the original content on the streaming services also draws audiences away from traditional movies. So it's like this notion of, them being able to just sell the rights later on to these big places or host their own. So it's like they don't need the theaters anymore.
Well, okay, so I think you're on to something. Like maybe they don't,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if a lot of people know about the Paramount decree.
Mm-hmm.
So, like way back in the day, they had like the big five studios, those studios were able to pretty much streamline the whole movie making process
Mm-hmm.
all the way down to distribution and the theater. So you would have like a Paramount theater where you could only watch Paramount films,
Yeah.
or they would or if you owned your own theater, you would other like the movie theaters would make deals with you saying like, oh, well, you can only play, you can make a deal with us and you'll get all of our films plus other like crappy films that we may make, but you have to play like all of our films. So you would,
Yeah.
if you wanted to go see like Mission Impossible, you would have to go to a Paramount theater to watch Mission Impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that has like that decree is gone. So studios, if they wanted to, they could do that.
Yeah.
Now the downside is these studios aren't making like good movies. So there's no real like incentive to be like, yeah, I want to watch this movie in a Paramount theater or in a Universal, theater.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And I think they're able to get a lot more money by licensing these movies to these streaming services. So like for example, according to Variety, as of the third quarter of 2020, Netflix had over 190 million subscribers worldwide, which translated into them posting revenue of $6.44 billion. Netflix Netflix typically allocates between 100 and 250 million for a single movie. This amount can fluctuate based on the specific film and the desired streaming rights, but it serves as a reliable estimate for the average blockbuster. In some cases, the streaming service may spend even more money on a particular movie. However, it is
see,
because of licensing
but
issues.
it's like,
But here's the
but it's
thing
like,
though, because of
I don't
licensing
know, like,
issues, Netflix ends up developing its own studio. When the companies like Disney and NBC
uh-huh.
decided to create their own streaming services, they started taking back the content they had originally created with hit shows like Friends and Disney movies. So it's like
Yeah.
before it was like
So,
$100 million pushing it out.
yeah.
You
But to
know,
me, it seems like it's like a lot of spending. And like, okay, so like if they're allocating like this much for a single movie, it's like, what's the return? Because so those are the numbers that we never see when
yeah.
it comes to these streaming services. Like, okay, I know, but like we know it's a subscription service, and
Mhm.
everybody's paying between like what now seven, depending on the service, you're paying between like $7.25 maybe
I
on
think
some
it's
of these
up.
services. I mean, like
Oh well,
if
yeah,
you
I
get
think
like the
Paramount's
premium version, like without ads and things like that.
yeah,
But it's like, is that enough
yeah.
to cover the cost to even make a profit if they're allocating this much for like a single movie
Yeah.
and no one's seen the numbers. There's no box office numbers for streaming services.
Right. Now there's the if you go to like Nelson, they have it's not I don't want to say it's not accurate, but it's not at least on this end, it's not as in detailed. But for example, it just shows like things like the number one show right now, and keep in mind we're recording this on July 28th of 23. But the number one show right now is Suits, and it has let's see, about 3,142,000 minutes of viewing times. So it kind of breaks down, like, I guess, the most popular show down. So it's like Suits, The Witcher, Bear. But again, to your point, it's like it doesn't quite say like how are they making money on the stream
Yeah.
post whatever, right?
Yeah, because it's like there's no, I mean, because it Suits. What platform is Suits on?
Netflix, Peacock.
Okay, so it's on Netflix and Peacock. Now
Mm-hmm.
Peacock, they have ads,
Okay,
but
so
Netflix, which I'm thinking has the bigger audience, it's like, yeah, it's like how are all of those streams? How does that, like you said, like, how does that equal into dollars?
yeah, yeah. Because
So I
I,
don't know how sustainable this is going to be because I feel like this stuff is going to like crash. I feel like they're hiding the numbers and hiding how much money, how much revenue they're really getting in. And I feel like all of a sudden we're going to start seeing these streaming platforms crash.
well, it's like, okay, if let's say Warner Brothers is paying if Netflix is paying Warner Brothers $100 million for a film,
Mm-hmm.
and then they air that film, they're getting their money from their subscribers. I mean, it's a big plus for the studio. But again, like you said, if 100 to 200 to however many million per movie, but they do have what was it, like $6.4 billion they're pulling in every year. That's a lot of money. That
Yeah,
is a
but
lot of money.
look at how many Netflix productions are going on. They have the comedy stuff, they
Yeah,
have, just the regular films, they have like the animation stuff that they're doing. It's like
yeah.
I
It's got to be
I
another
don't
business model there somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'd agree with that. It's got to be something that translates these clicks. Either they're selling, they claim they don't sell users data, but either they're selling data and
They had to be
metrics.
doing something. They have to be doing something because I just,
Yeah.
even though with Netflix, maybe Netflix is able to somewhat survive off of the numbers, but I just don't know how people like HBO or like these smaller, I don't know how they're doing it. Now, Apple TV, I mean,
Mhm.
Apple's a huge, like multi-billion-dollar company. I can see how they can like sustain their service even if they're not getting any return on their investment.
Yeah.
But these
Yeah.
other ones, it's like I don't know how
But
they
I
do it.
mean, yeah, but the studios they seem to have the upper hand, right? Because they can just keep churning out movies that could just live on forever. And you just can, and these licensing deals are like a few years at a time, right? Probably anywhere from 2 to 3 years, and then they renegotiate. So it's
Probably.
like you're getting
Mhm.
millions upon millions on the same film over and over again. But it kind of goes into the bigger picture, right? Where you guys know we're on the writer strike and the actors strike. And so it's like this is some of the things that what these people are fighting for is because
Mhm.
used to be when you go into syndication on television for your shows or residuals, I guess, for your movies, actors would get paid every time that film is being played. Well, now that it's streaming, it's a totally different thing, right? So actors aren't getting any money or barely any money when these films are actually streamed now, which is why they're fighting to be compensated when these movies are being pushed out over and over and over again to these streaming platforms.
Mhm.
So it kind of goes full circle. Like it's like where when I think about it too hard, my brain wants to explode because it's just like where is it really all going? Like as an art form, it's we're in a weird place right now. It's
I mean,
weird.
people can come. We can go back to theater. That's to live theater.
I mean, yeah, you can't really replicate that.
No, no. If you want to see that performance, you want to see that actor, then you make your way to these places to see them.
Yeah, and
I
it
mean, I just
I think and Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, it's just that I just, it's just the more that I think about it, the more it's like, well, I need to kind of spend the money to beef up my home theater experience to kind of almost to try to at least try to come close to what I can get at a theater. I just think that all this stuff, I just feel like this is a train wreck. Like we're watching it happen like in slow motion, but this thing is going to like implode.
Yeah.
Because I feel like because of greed, I feel like because of greed and not being transparent about things, this whole thing is just going to blow up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah. And I think the thing that's really scary for me is like we're worried about like actors are worried about their image or likeness being paid for one time and being replicated multiple times indefinitely for no extra fees. But we're kind of like not realizing that they're doing that stuff to us too. Like this AI thing, like all these AI apps you can get on TikTok, you can get on things where you're making your face be older, making your whatever. There's certain apps you can purchase or you can use or utilize that have fine print that say the same exact things that we can replicate and use your likeness to our own device with your basically your approval. So really with anything you guys are doing online right now, you need to be reading those fine prints because it's not just the actors they're coming for. They're coming for all of us. Scanning your face, using that, you might see your face on a Hollywood movie before you know it.
I
It's
mean, well, I'm not a part of the people. They end up getting sued.
but that's what I'm saying. People download these apps, they scan their face, you sign the terms and conditions without reading it, then that
Yeah,
app company is selling that to people to use. You see what
that
I'm
is,
saying?
yeah, that thought is wild. If something like that could, I mean, yeah, that's
I'm
very
saying it
bold and
because
wild.
I know you can't believe everything on TikTok, but I was saying it because of a TikTok I saw where the guy was going over the terms and conditions for a AI app. Everybody's
Mhm.
putting their pictures in these little business applications to make you look like a professional and give you professional headshots. I'm not quite sure if you've seen that before or not,
Mhm.
but like you guys need to be reading that fine print. That company can take your image and sell it to somebody, and you signed off on it when you hit that accept terms and conditions. So
Yeah.
it's just it's scary to think that that's where things are going, but we just gotta be careful. I know it's kind of transformed over into AI talk, but
I mean, but I think like the silver lining is always for like when things like this happen. People who like to go to movies, who like to watch creative things, they like to listen to podcasts and music and stuff like that. I feel like this just it just opens up a new lane for people who weren't like either welcome or didn't have access to be like on the main stage. I
hmm,
feel like this is an opportunity because I feel like so just Lord forbid if the movie theater experience and like VOD or if they continue to make bad movies,
yeah,
that's an opportunity for like an unknown independent filmmaker to get attention
yeah, yeah,
because no one's making anything that people want to watch. But
yeah.
you, the person that no one knows, you can, and there's other platforms that you could put it up to try to get people to watch it.
It's true. I've actually been on a kick of catching up on movies I've missed, and like overwhelmingly over half of them have been trash. I'm talking major studio movies with major actors who've pulled thousands of millions of people into theaters, and they were trash. And I'm like, where has the writing gone? Like, what is this? Like
Huh?
this is crazy. Like if you consume content like that, you surely have seen the rift and like how content is just really like it's not deep, it's surface level, it's just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I agree with you. Like it is an opportunity for you to get out there with original stories, original. I mean, look at Barbie for crying out loud. A movie about a Barbie doll, okay, is like killing it out here. Killing it.
I mean, just I mean, I'm not going to talk bad about anybody who has seen Barbie and wants to see Barbie. It's just I could kind of tell from the trailer because have you seen it?
I saw it last
You
night.
saw okay, you saw that okay.
Hmm.
I
But
I,
I'm
I
a
get the
I'm a
impression.
Greta Gerwig fan, so take
Okay,
that with a grain of
okay.
salt.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it just kind of looked like to me, it looked like more of the same. I mean, yeah, it's cool that Barbie has a movie. but it just looked more of the same, and I really wasn't excited about seeing Barbie. But I mean, maybe
Yeah,
I'm not the audience for Barbie. I know
possibly.
my daughter didn't want to go see it.
Yeah,
So I mean, it just depends on the audience, but it just seems like more of the same like type of thing, and it's just like
yeah,
it doesn't get me excited about going to the theaters
yeah. I,
or
I
using VOD for it.
Yeah. I think it got me excited to go to the theaters because it was an original idea. Now, my review of it is something totally different, and that's for a different episode. But I think people are craving originality in any form that they can get it. And so that's what
Yes.
I think it shows more than anything. Especially in a time where like now big hit movies are getting like 20 million on opening weekend, that's kind of crazy, and this movie I think got like 155 million on opening weekend, which is like blowout. So I don't know, it just goes to show that people are hungry for something new and different.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they are. They are. But it's
Yeah,
just
so
mm,
yeah, overall I guess, who knows where all of this is going to go, video on demand, what things are going to look like. uh it's it's scary, but yeah, okay, guys. Yeah. So, a while back I decided to take control of my own destiny by embodying who I want to become. Every day I actively channel a successful creative director, and I bring that energy with me to my work until it becomes my new reality. This is my Mastering My Own Destiny challenge that I've been doing. And this week's update is it's really about knowing when to pivot. And I've talked a little bit about how I'm like really
mm,
overwhelmed and feeling very discouraged at the moment. And a lot of that does have to do with, I think, this challenge, putting in a lot of effort in this challenge and then having things not play out exactly how I'm envisioning them, and sort of knowing when to pivot, knowing when to take a step back. And I'm not quite sure what that pivot looks like. I have a little idea of what that may look like. But maybe next week I'll have a little bit more info on that. I
mm.
need to just sit with it to make sure, that's the direction to go. But I'm definitely at the point where I'm like, okay, it's time to do some type of pivoting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know it's time, but to pivot to what, I don't know yet. So to be determined. Yeah, yeah, it's a
Okay.
challenge. But yeah, so that's all the time we got in this episode, guys. Thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate you being here. It is our hope that these episodes provide a window into the daily mindsets, joys, and challenges that creative people like you and I face every single day. It is a creative lifestyle, and you aren't alone in it. If you're looking for more creative talk just like this one, then search for Label Me Other on TikTok, and you'll find tons of additional videos you can watch. But until then, get out there and go create. Bye.
See you.